Hello, this Create Cell Bank module is on sketching. And if you have a background or training in sketching, this module would be a piece of cake for you. If not, it should still be a piece of cake. But we're going to cover basic sketching techniques so that you can use this innovation skill in Create Cell Bank. And you don't have to be a fine arts major to be able to sketch well. However, being able to rapidly sketch out your ideas is a powerful skill to develop because it helps others understand your ideas. It develops the innovation center of your brain and improves your ability to communicate. It adds another dimension to your ability to communicate. And the following pages contain some exercises that you should perform on a piece of paper. Just stop the video and go forward. But before we get to the exercises, we'll just look kind of at the basic elements that will help you be able to sketch. Line segments, they're one of the most basic components. Now, a line segment has a finite length, and they can be thick or they can be thin. They can be long, so that length can be long, but the length can be short. They can be horizontal, like this one, or they can be vertical. You can draw two line segments in an orthogonal fashion where that angle right there is 90 degrees, or you can make them parallel. So being able to draw orthogonal lines and parallel lines is really important because those show up all the time. So drawing straight line segments takes practice. And to practice, you start on the left end with your drawing object, whether it's a pencil, whether it's a pen, whether it's a crayon, whether it's a piece of chalk, whether it's a marker. I don't know, I suppose there's others. Set it down, and instead of looking where your marker is or the point, look to the right where you're actually going and draw to that. Now, at first, it's going to be a squiggly line. Try it again. Boom, boom. Keep looking where you're going. And what you'll find is that your brain has an amazing ability to control your muscles so that you can draw a straight line. And now, once you got a straight line down, you can draw two straight lines that are parallel to each other. And you do the same thing. You put your point down here, but you look right here and you just sketch. Boom, you're done. So let's look at some of the other basic shapes over and above a line segment. You've got a triangle, square, rectangle, circle, and ellipse. Now, a triangle is clearly a three-sided object. A square and rectangle, they're in the same quadrilateral series. So they're closely related. Circle and ellipse, they're closely related. And you'll see why in just a sec. So triangles can take many forms. But the key thing of a triangle is that they have three angles inside and they have three sides. And that's it. So, the sides don't have to be all the same length, but in this case, two of the sides are the same length, which makes that an isosceles triangle, which has nothing to do with this course other than you should know that. And squares, they can, like triangles, can take on an infinite number of forms, and really that's size. All four sides are of equal length, and all four interior angles are 90 degrees, because you can envision that you could have all four sides equal, but it could be skewed into a trapezoid or some other shape. And of course, triangles and squares, as well as the other shapes, can be rotated. So you can practice drawing them in these rotated configurations. Now, rectangles are very, very similar in that the four interior angles are 90 degrees, but the opposite sides are of equal length. And you can see that a subset of a rectangle is a square. So, and circles are made up of an infinite number of infinitesimally small connected line segments with endpoints located equidistant from the center of the circle. That's a long way of saying circles have a center and they have a radius or they have a diameter, and that's about it. The reason we talk about an infinite number of these is in order to make a circle smooth, it has to have a infinite number of infinitesimally small points. Otherwise, you'll get what's called the jaggies or aliasing going around the edge. So ellipses are like circles, but the major axis is still the diameter, but the minor axis is like you've taken this lid to the cylindrical form and you've tipped it away from you. So here's something to think about. There's surface access covers that sometimes they're called, well, let's just call them service access covers that, you see them in the street, and service people go down and they do work. Now, why are the lids on those cylindrical? Why are they circular in cross section? And it's something to think about. Why couldn't they be square? Why couldn't they be triangular? But almost every one that you see is circular. Got any ideas? It's because a circle is the only shape that won't fall through itself. If it were elliptical, the minor axis, you could locate that and it will go down and hit the people that were down underground. So ellipse is what a circle looks like in what's called perspective views. So it's really important to know that. And of course, the ellipses can be rotated to an infinite number of positions. And we're going to talk about vanishing points and things like that. And you want to make sure that your minor axis is right on the line that points to the vanishing point. And then your ellipses will look very, very good. Now, take a clean sheet of paper and sketch several of the following in different orientations: triangle, square, rectangle, circle, and ellipse. And just get comfortable with that. Now, let's talk about two-point perspective, which helps make your sketches and the objects that you're sketching look realistic. A key element of a two-point perspective is the horizon line, and that's shown right here. And it's where the sky appears to meet the earth at eye level. So here we've sketched this rectangular prismatic solid, better known as a box. We've sketched that below the horizon line, so we're looking down on it, so we see the top view, or the top surface, and we see the front left side, and we see the front right side, and we don't see the other three surfaces. So cool. There's two vanishing points, one vanishing point left and one vanishing point right. Now, any line that's not vertical, there's three vertical lines right here. Any line goes directly back to one of these vanishing points. And you see that the back edges are shorter than the front edges. That's called foreshortening. And it makes the box look realistic. If you went down to FedEx, UPS, the USPS, and got a box, set it on the table, that's what it would look like. Now, to draw this object in two-point perspective, you start with drawing the horizon line, then you sketch in the two vanishing points, and then you start with the first edge you can see, the first vertical line. Now you sketch in the lines that go back to the, from that line going back. So you have 4 lines going to each vanishing point. And now you sketch the visible back sides. Now, notice that they're shorter. This line is shorter than this. This line is shorter than that because it's receding. It's getting back towards the vanishing point. And again, that's foreshortening. And then you, sketch the construction lines from the others, and you sketch those things in, and there's your box. Piece of cake. Watch that again. It'll make a lot of sense. And then you can erase the construction line and you'll be all set. Now, if we sketched our first line up here, notice that we went to the vanishing point 1 and vanishing point 2, we would see the bottom, then the right front, and the left front edges of the box. We wouldn't see the top anymore. And if we put it right on the horizon line, it would, we wouldn't see the top or the bottom. We would just see the left and the right side. But that's something you guys can do. Now, if you want to draw a table in 2-point perspective, I mean, it's an everyday object. First thing you do is you sketch in the top. It's about that big. I want to see the top. I don't want to see underneath the table. So then you sketch in the vertical legs. Now, if we look at a shipping box image, you can see, I just copied that, open source, got a box, and it fits the 2-point perspective. So it's very realistic, and that's really what you're trying to do. You can do the same thing for an office desk. You can see the lines all fit. I'm going to go back. One quick thing. This horizon line has to be horizontal. If you draw it tilted, your objects won't look right. So keep that in mind. Now, the 2-point perspective it works when you're sketching cylinders. Again, vertical lines are drawn vertical, and the lines going back to the vanishing points are such that then you can draw an ellipse down here and an ellipse up here. Now, what's really interesting is that the top ellipse is shallower than the lower ellipse, which makes great sense because that's the way it is. And here's a real object over here that kind of proves that point. You can use it for sketching human heads. Same thing. There's a head. Action figures. There it is. You can see everything. It all fits together. So practice just looking around. Look around the room. Go outside and see the how many things are in 2-point perspective. You can see a lot of 2-point perspective just by looking at items on your desk. And then practice sketching these until you're comfortable with 2-point perspective. Now, 1-point perspective has a single vanishing point. If you've driven on a highway, you have seen this before, and all non-vertical lines point to the vanishing point. So can you see the single vanishing point and the horizon line in this image? Yeah, it's like right about there, and you see all these lines going back. It's a city sidewalk, but you can see I've put in the lines in yellow, and they all intersect at a vanishing point, which is on the horizon line. That's your eye level. And that's really what you can use to draw. So you can sketch a box in 1-point perspective, and you sketch the rectangular surface. Now, the thing about this is you can take any design, like a cookie cutter design or something that is 2-dimensional, and then you can make it 3-dimensional by using single point perspective. You draw the lines back, you draw the back of the box, and there you are. So next time You look down a city street in Albuquerque, or you're out on a country road, notice how the non-vertical lines converge onto a single vanishing point. And practice sketching in one-point perspective. Just like I said, sketch two-dimensional shapes onto your page, and like jigsaw pieces and things like that, and then use the vanishing point. So both 2-point and 1-point perspective are powerful techniques that you can use to communicate your ideas. Sometimes 3-point perspective is used, but that's, if you're an architect, that might be a reasonable thing to do. When you have very tall buildings, you have a third vanishing point, but we're not going to worry about that in this class. So you've seen a lot of ideas about how to sketch lines, how to sketch triangles, how to sketch squares, rectangles, circles, ellipses. We've gone over 2-point perspective and 1-point perspective. And these are just things you should practice and make sure you know. So that's the Create Cell Bank module on sketching.